You're listening to the PRO Media Network, the next level in entertainment.
Here he goes, throwing it down! How about a poster? Anthony Davis is on fire!
You're listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
For all things Pelicans, you're now listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network. I'm Big Q, chiming with you. This podcast, 239 on the Pelican Postgame Report. That's right, 239 as we covering a trifecta of Pelican games in the preseason. We got them all covered for you. We're going to recap them all today with stats, facts, and breakdown in our usual professional manner. We're going to let you know what's going on with our Pels. So, of course, like we always do on the Pelican Postgame Report, I'd like to give a round of applause to you for joining us on the Pelican Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network. This is a big shout out to our established listeners and our new listeners of the Pelican Postgame Report. We invite you guys to share us with other Pelican fandom out there as we continue to strive forward to build our brand here and cover our beloved New Orleans Pelicans. Now going into today's show, it's a Pelican trifecta on podcast 239. We're recapping all three of the top preseason games, starting with the Pels versus the Bulls, lost 128-116. We'll break it down. The loss to Atlanta, 116-102. The Pels lost to the Knicks 106-100. We'll break it down with interviews from L. Gentry, Anthony Davis, and others. We also introduced to the show what we call the Pelican Post-Game Report Question of the Day, or the PPR Question of the Day. We'll reveal that to you and let you know. Of course, the question of the day for you to ponder on is who's the best option? Who is the best option at the wing position for the New Orleans Pelicans? Break that down for us. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Of course, comments will be read on the next show. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. On today's episode, looking at the Pelicans' first game of the season, they went up to the United Center to battle with the Chicago Bulls. It turned out to be a pretty nice crowd of attendance. About almost 18,000 people attended this matchup. Not a bad turnout for the first preseason games with the Bulls. And of course, Pelicans didn't get the win. Although Frank Jackson looks really good, man. His first full actions of play, Frank looked good. Before we talk about Frank, let's look at some of these team statistics from the Pelicans. They shot 45%, which is not bad. Pretty good for a shooting percentage for a team. The only problem is the Bulls were 49%, and it's hard to beat a team that's shooting that high. If you're shooting 48% or better, you know, of another team, your opponent, it's going to be very difficult to beat the team, despite the fact the Pelicans were 33% from the three-point line, while the Bulls were a stinky 22%. New Orleans continuing the role of being turnover prone in this game. They had 18 turnovers in this matchup, as Chicago's kept theirs down to only 11. Then they were out rebounded by the Bulls 52-45 during this game. You look at some of the statistics, the breakdown. Of course, the top scorer on this team through minutes was Drew Holiday. He had 18 minutes, 7 of 9, shooting 2 of 4 from downtown. 16 points for Drew, 4 assists to go with it. Julius Randle in this game, his first game as a Pelican in the preseason, 15 points, 5 rebounds in 25 minutes. He was 5 of 8. Of course, he tried to shoot the 3 from downtown, 0 for 2, 5 of 8 from the free throw line. But Julius Randle looking good, adding that strength, very fast, very strong. You know, he's the guy that the Pelicans really need. Seeing Anthony Davis play that center position, 13 points in limited action, 16 minutes in the game, only 4 rebounds in the game as he came back to his hometown to play. Etwine Moore finished with 7 points in the starting capacity, with Elfrid Payton struggled in this one. 2 of 10 shooting, 25 minutes of action, although he did get 8 rebounds and dished out 4 assists, but turned the ball over about 3 times, same as AD and Julius Randle. Off the bench, a lot of production. They wanted to see what Frank Jackson could do. He played 19 minutes. He was 5 of 14, 4 of 8 from downtown, but he was active. 6 rebounds in the game, had 1 dish, had 16 points on the night for Frank Jackson. A very interesting day for him. Garland Green had 9 points in the game. Although he struggled shooting from the field, he was 1 of 4 from downtown as well, but he did get most of his points at the free throw line, 6 of 6. Then you throw in the contributions of Troy Williams, 11 minutes in the game, 4 of 7, 1 of 3 from downtown, finished with 9 points in the game. Ian Clark finished with 8. So did Jahlil Okafor, 17 minutes, 4 of 7 on the field goals, 8 points, 7 rebounds in this game. Sheik Diallo had 4 points. Now, of course, Jahlil Okafor ultimately did get hurt in this game. And, of course, we knew Nikolai Mirotic was out because of a left Achilles tendonitis. Darius Miller didn't play because of a bicep injury. And, of course, they're still holding Alexis Jink out with that right quad injury. I don't know what's going on with him. And, of course, Jared Jack and Trevon Blewett did not play. They were DMP'd by the coach. So, interesting night of action for the Chicago Bulls. Before we talk any more about it, let's hear what Coach Gentry has to say about his team's performance against the Bulls.
Well, I think there was a lot of positives. And, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that we got to work on. But, you know, I thought we played with pretty good pace. I think we got to do a little bit better job with our ball movement. You know, in a game like this, 23 assists is probably not where we should be. We should probably be, closer to 30 than we are, 20. I think there's some other things that we got to work on, obviously, but I do like the fact that we push the basketball. I still think that there's a gear that we've got to get to that we play with consistently that I didn't think we had tonight. And then obviously we got to get better defensively. We didn't do a very good job. First of all, we turned the ball over too much. 18 turnovers for 23 points. We don't want to give up 23 points on our turnovers, and then we didn't force enough, obviously. I think they had a 9 or 10 turnovers for 13 points or something, so we got to do a better job with that also.
Coach, what did you think of Peyton running your offense for the first time?
I thought he did a good job. I thought he did a good job. Obviously, we got to get better. Some things, he's got to get better in some things, and a little hesitant, but I think, he's going to be okay. He's going to be fine.
Any of the young players stick out to you tonight, Coach?
Oh, I thought all of them at one time did something that was, we had a lineup in there also where we had a couple of guys playing out of position, so it's hard to judge them on that. But, I thought Julius did a good job tonight. I'm not worried about Drew and AD. Obviously, they're going to be fine. And, we're obviously a different team with Nico in the rotations also.
What do you think of Frank tonight? It seemed like he was really aggressive in his first game.
I think so also. I think he's a real confident guy anyway. Had some things that he did real well. I thought driving the ball to the basket. He also, I thought his shot selection was really good. There was a couple where he made a couple and then, had to have a couple of heat checks there. But, that's to be expected, I think, from a young player right now. But, for the most part, I'm happy with it. Obviously, you don't want to give up 120-plus points. But for us right now, we've got to get our offense to the point where we're running consistently. And then I think if we cut down on the turnovers, obviously we're going to cut down on the points that we give it.
That's Coach Al Gentry telling you about his thoughts on the game. Of course, all the high turnovers by the Pelicans, but that's to be expected. You got a new team out there, okay, and the guys trying to learn how to play together, and they'll get better. Of course, it's going to take a little bit, but I'd rather them lose in the preseason to figure it out before they get into the regular season and go into a 0-3 or 0-4 hole. You never want to start the season out that way. But the Bulls had very good production off most of their players. They had 3 players that scored 21 points apiece, including Zach LaVine, Bobby Portis off the bench, and Antonio Blakeney. This is the guy that came over from the LSU Tigers. Remember him? He played there with Ben Simmons. But 21 points from those 3 gentlemen. And the Pelicans go down 128 to 116 in this affair. Now, we have another interview to play by one Frank Jackson, who played really well in this game. Let's see what Frank Jackson had to say about his performance against the Bulls.
Yeah, no, I think, great coaching staff. A lot of teammates have confidence in me, and this was the preseason for getting out our kinks, and I just looked to stay aggressive, and after I hit that first one, it felt pretty good.
you watched that playoff run. It had to be so hard last year. And how could you contribute right now?
No, it was definitely tough, and at the same time, I learned a lot. But it was definitely hard watching and not being able to, play the game I love. But yeah, it was. I'm excited for this year for sure, and just to play a full season. God forbid, I want to stay healthy, but I'm excited.
You mentioned being aggressive. Was that something that you set out to do tonight and make sure that you were aggressive?
I think from the moment I played pick up the ball, I've always wanted to be aggressive. That's just my nature and what I can bring to the table. But I try to stay aggressive as I can.
That's Frank Jackson, man. Upbeat never. I mean, this guy's a tremendous athlete. 16 points in the game, shooting 5 of 14 from the field. Got to improve that. That's a little progress on the hands of Frank Jackson coming back, all these massive injuries. Of course, the Pelicans, like I ran down a lot of their earlier stats, field goal percentage and whatnot. Now, 24 assists versus 23 assists, as Elvin Gentry was talking about. Total turnovers was something that was really big. 18 of 11 points off of turnovers, 23 points off of turnovers given up by New Orleans Pelicans in this game. And they lost the fast break battle 12-9, but the points in the paint battle is really what it started out as. The Chicago Bulls beat them in the paint 72 points to 54. That's just asinine right there. They were dominated in the paint by the Chicago Bulls in this game, and that's what ultimately decided this game, if you think about it. The literal domination of the Bulls in the paint against this team. If you look at the game that they had against the Chicago Bulls, very interesting game. Now, of course, the Pelicans can learn from this. You heard what Frank Jackson said. You heard what Elvin Gentry said in this game. The Bulls had a little bit more pizzazz than what the Pelicans have. Pelicans have some parts that they're trying to get into place. Now, Julius Randle in his first game looked really good. Elfrid Payton struggled a bit. You can see he was a little bit uncomfortable, but you got to give him brownie points because eventually this team is going to come together. They struggled not because of a lack of effort, but they might have been doing too much, turning the ball over, like I said last year, and you guys follow me from last year, like I keep saying, if you have more than 12, maybe 15 turnovers, that's like you're teetering into the territory where you're ultimately really hurting yourself, meaning that you can end up possibly losing the game because of basically turning the ball over, giving the other team an opportunity to score. And a lot of those score points come in transition. So they can create swings and huge momentum swings in the game that ultimately end up hurting you. So the Pelicans have to be able to get those wrinkles ironed out as some of these pieces start to flow back in together. Of course, like I said, they were without two of their more accomplished shooters in Darius Miller and Nikolai Mirotic, but they did gain those guys back in the next game against the Hawks. Now, a little piece of information before we jot out to commercial. This game was really interesting. Of course, Anthony Davis ends up going back to home. He's from Chicago, born in Chicago. Chicago is hometown for AD. E'Twaun Moore played there during his career before he came to the Pelicans. At spurts, they look good. Of course, now if the main lineup had remained in the game, it might have been a different effect. It would have been a different effect. Of course, the team is trying to find its pieces together to kind of find the right mix of talent to help the team going into the regular season. So, very interesting day for the New Orleans Pelicans in this affair. So we'll see them get better in this game. We'll see them move forward. Now, on the injury list in this game, of course, Jahlil Okafor was a guy that got hurt in this game. Now, he stepped down wrong. And, of course, we know that he injured himself in this game. And ultimately, he's out for 2 weeks in this game, which was a sad thing for me because I'm one of the only, possibly one of the only guys, that actually think that Jahlil Okafor can actually help the team. But late in the fourth quarter, He looked terrific, by the way. He dunked on the other guy. He looked terrific. I mean, I love what I've seen from him in this game. 4 of 7 shooting against the Bulls, but ultimately sprained his ankle. Hopefully he'll be ready starting up the regular season, but that was a huge loss. You want to see him get back to shape. And, I mean, he looked real good, to think about it. I mean, he really looked good in this game against the Chicago Bulls. So too bad for Jahlil Okafor, but 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks with that sprained ankle. Not so much. It's not too bad. Hopefully he'll be ready for real action when the regular season come in. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But that'll do it for the Chicago Bulls breakdown. When we come back on the other side of the break, we'll get into our Atlanta Hawk breakdown of the second preseason game. You're listening to the Pelican Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics. And autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Do you need a domain name? How about a host for your website that can work with WordPress? Try Namecheap.com. They make registering, hosting, and managing domain names for yourself or others easy and affordable because the internet needs people. Namecheap is an ICANN accredited domain register and technology company founded in 2000. It's one of the fastest growing American companies according to the 2018 Inc. 5000, celebrating nearly 2 decades of providing unparalleled levels of service, security, and support. Namecheap has been steadfast in customer satisfaction with over 10 million domains under management. Namecheap is among the top domain registers and web providers in the world. They offer a full selection of popular and unique domains along with fully featured hosting packages, SSL security certificates, WhoisGuard privacy protections, and more, all at the lowest prices in the industry. So if you need a domain name or hosting or anything else, think Namecheap.com. That's right, Namecheap.com. Check the description section below for link.
What's up, Sports World? The PRO Media Network is on a mission to reach 10,000 subscribers. So besides our regular programs like the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, the Pelican Postgame Report, Rapid Fire TSC, and others, we will be expanding out and offering other content like movie, anime, and gaming reviews for your entertainment. So if you enjoy our content, please donate at our Patreon page. Also subscribe, comment, and share. And help the PRO Media Network reach 10,000 subs. Peace.
You're listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
That's right, for all things Pelicans, you're now tuned into the Pelican Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network. This side of the show, we'll be recapping game number 2. That's right, number 2 between the Pelicans and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, of course, the Pelicans traveled up to Atlanta. They played in Georgia Tech's McCarnish Pavilion. And, of course, it had about 6,600 people in attendance to watch that game, as the Atlanta Hawks struggled a little bit early but caught fire later on in the game to ultimately take this game from the Pelicans. And I was hoping this one, I was like, man, we can beat this team. You know, that's a young team. They got a lot of young talent like John Collins. You know, you got Trae Young over there. Very young team. And by the way, I'm not an Atlanta Hawk fan, but I can appreciate young, good talent. And I like what I see from John Collins and Trae Young early, just putting that out there. Anyway, getting back to our team, the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans in this one, man, couldn't get it done. 116 to 102. They lose double digits. They went into the game. They shot 48 from 105 from the field, which is 36% from the field. The Hawks, of course, shot 45. Might as well say 46% from the field. Pelicans were 20% from downtown. Hawks were 24% from downtown. Both of the teams had 18 turnovers apiece, and both of them had 54 rebounds a game. So what was ultimately the end game in this one? What led it to it being such a difference in score? Well, of course, you look at the free throws made. Of course, the Pelicans had an opportunity to win at the line if they would have converted more. Perhaps it would have made it a tighter margin. They were 18 of 29 from the free throw line for 62%. Now, I've been saying this all last year and the previous years. You know, well, last year was a full season of the Pelican Post-Game Report, but prior to that, it was the Sports Coma before we transitioned over to this. When we were covering the Pelicans on the Sports Coma, before we gave them their own show, is the fact that the Pelicans needed to do 2 things fundamentally this season. First of all, they need to cut the turnovers down to at least under 15 turnovers a game, because that's right at the threshold before you're really hurting yourself. I really prefer to keep it underneath 12, but it takes a really disciplined team with a disciplined coach to really enforce that. And because El Gentry runs so fast and wants to push the pace, you got to understand that the Pelicans are going to make more mistakes than usual, so the turnover statistics will be a bit skewed, if you know what I mean. Being that they force the pace faster than any other team in the NBA, they're prone to turn the ball over. So let's throw that in the equation. Also, the fact that if you're going to be a fast-paced team and you're going to get move the ball, more than likely you're going to draw a lot of fouls. If that's the case, you need to be converting a higher free throw percentage from the field. Is what you need to do. That's pretty much what it is when it comes down to it. So you need to be shooting above the 72, 75 percentile range. You have to be that. You can't be a fast team that's poor at the free throw line. That's you're leaving points free for a reason. They call it a free throw for a reason. You have to convert those damn free throws. And, of course, like we talked about turnovers, we talked about free throws. That's the main Achilles heel to most Pelicans teams. The rebounds were what and what. The Pelicans did a pretty decent job in this one. And offensive rebound is the offensive rebound. The Atlanta Hawks 14-10. They had 40 defensive rebounds versus their 44. And, of course, the Hawks did move the ball more, 32-25, which is what Elvin Gentry preaches more than he preaches defense, is the flow of the ball, moving the ball, getting the ball out, getting it fast up down the court to make things happen. What things are not happening. If you push the pace, that's similar to what the Lakers did with the Showtime Lakers. Al Gentry is a fan of that system, obviously. It makes for exciting ball, by the way. Fast break points, Pelicans had 18, Hawks 19. Points in the paint, that look at the statistics, tell you right there. Once again, remember this was the trend from the Chicago Bulls game, first preseason game. 72 points in the paint versus 54 points in the paint by the Pels. Hawks had 72 points in the paint against the Pelicans. Think about that. That's a lot of points in the paint. And if you look at the lopsided lead, you can see how they beat you. But before we get into the individual statistics, let's hear what Coach Al Gentry had to say about his team performance.
How you distribute last night?
We'll start the same lineup and play those guys. Really the kind of same amount of minutes that we played last night. Probably won't see most of them in the second half. And just kind of approach it that way. We get a chance to take a look at some of the guys even more in depth tonight, so we'll see how that works out.
What are some of the things that you, if you look at the film from last night, or think about what you guys did well or didn't do well, certain things that you want to see improve tonight compared to last night?
I think that the big thing for us is that pace of the game. I thought we were pretty good, but we've got to do it more consistently. We've got to be running more consistently. I thought our shot selection in some situations were it was a little quick, and we took some questionable shots. Defensively, I think we got to do a little bit better job with our screening roll defense of being up and a little more aggressive. And then more so than anything, I think we can't have the 18 turnovers for 23 points. But at this stage, obviously that can be expected. But the more we play and the more games we're into, we'd like to see that number go down.
Last thing, you mentioned the turnovers, and obviously when you have a bunch of new guys and it's the first game, you expect some of the mistakes, stuff like that. But did you like some of the – it seemed like, for example, Drew and Randall have a really good connection as far as passing to each other. It seems like – did you like the way that you saw a lot of –
Yeah, no, I thought it was a lot of that, and I don't want to minimize anything. There was a lot of good things that happened, and you – can only develop those kind of things that you're talking about, Jimmy, with the guys being out there and playing together and, knowing each other or getting to know each other and know their cuts and their movements and things like that. So, yeah, there was a lot of positives, a lot more positive than negatives, really. In a preseason game, we were able to score 112 points, so I think all of that stuff is positive.
That's Coach Al Gentry talking about his team and positivity. You're going to need a lot of that, man, as these pieces, as they call them pieces. I would say players because it sounds so impersonal, but as these players formulate a chemistry, as they play, what a lot of people say, what is it? Not so much chemistry, but a harmony or a symmetry, whatever you want to call it. But they need harmony, they need peace, they need union, they need all those great and loving words as this team comes together as they learn to play. Now, of course, let's get to some of the individual statistics of the game. Anthony Davis did finish this game with 16 points in 17 minutes of the action. He also had 7 rebounds in this game. AD had a swell block shot on one guy. He lunched his damn shot damn near. Anthony Davis, man, his wingspan is enormous. You think you have an easy layup and just Anthony Davis just jumps in the picture and just swaps your stuff into the crowd. He's just tremendous. He led the scorers in this one with 16 points. Behind him was Drew Holiday, of course. Drew Holiday had 13 points in 19 minutes. He had 4 assists as well. And then outside of that, the only other double-digit scorer was Troy Williams off the bench. He had 11 points in 14 minutes, 4 of 11 shooting, 1 of 5 from downtown, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, and 3 rebounds as Troy Williams it's continued those 2 games. He's really kind of, to me, as far as the wing position goes, he's kind of extending himself out a bit. He has the size to play the wing, 6'7", fast enough to play the wing. He'll throw it down on your head. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but if you look at it, the best wing 3-point shooter they have is Darius Miller. If you want to include Nikolai Mirotic in the wing, he can play it the wing, and I would say Nikolai Mirotic is a better defender than Darius Miller. I know a lot of you would agree with me on that, but Troy Williams is a guy that does play defense. He can get to the basket. He can shoot a high percentage inside of the 3-point line. Outside of it's around 29-30%. Not so good, but he'll get better because he's an effort guy, and I just like his size and his ability. They'll do well to keep an eye on him. Now, looking further at some more statistics in this game, as we broke it down, E'Twaun Moore continues to struggle a bit. He had only 4 points in this matchup, 2 of 9 shooting in 20 minutes. He was 0 of 3 from downtown, by the way. Elfrid Payton, the other addition, 24 minutes, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from downtown. He had 7 assists in this game and no turnovers in 24 minutes, 7 points for Elfrid Payton. So big ups to Elfrid Payton in this one. Also, we seen some time after the lost Jahlil Okafor for 2 or 3 weeks. Some say 2. I'm saying, it'd probably be close to 3 with a big man with an ankle injury. But the way I view it is, you look at what he was able to do. McCoy was signed. Brandon McCoy was brought in here. Now, who is Brandon McCoy? McCoy is a center, a big center, a 7-footer, 250-pounder who comes over from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, also known as UNLV. Now, he played in this game as a 7-foot, 250-pounder. And I love to see 7-foot reserve bigs on the Pelicans bench. I've been the guy yelling for some time now that the Pels are too small off the bench. You have undersized small forwards like undersized small forwards like Sheik Diallo. They're going to play Solomon Hill at power forward in sometimes because he's strong enough to do that. But he's 6'7". But you need guys that's 6'10", 6'11". Sometimes you can slide those guys into 2 positions. You can use them as a backup center if you need. Now, I like the fact that they did get McCoy. Now, he had a pretty decent game. He played 14 minutes. He was 3 of 9. Had a 7 points in his game, but had 8 rebounds. 8 rebounds in 14 minutes. That's not bad for a big guy. He can move, and he's an effort guy. The Pelicans might have found something, being that Jahlil Okafor goes down, one window shut, a door open. Brandon McCoy might be a guy that you want to think about keeping around. You might want to consider that. Other people scoring as well. Sheik Diallo in 21 minutes produced 5.6 rebounds in the game on 1 of 5 field goal shooting. I remember what Scott Kutchner came in and said about Sheik Diallo, and, we'll see. They gave him 21 minutes. That's more minutes than anybody off the bench to see what he can do. So they're really looking at Sheik Diallo. Is he in danger of losing his job? I guess we're going to have to see. Solomon Hill, 17 minutes, 4 points. He was 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 3 from the free-point line. Solomon Hill, only thing he made was free throws. He was 4-4 on the night. He struggled in an ugly night down there in Atlanta as well. Frank Jackson was under minute restriction, played only 6 minutes, had 4 points, 6 points for Jared Jackson. His first action as a New Orleans Pelican, 13 minutes, 2 of 6 from the field, 0 of 2 from downtown. He had 6 points in the game. Trayvon blew it in 16 minutes. His first action back, 3 of 4, 2 of 3 from downtown, had 8 points. Ian Clark had 4. Kenrick Williams, 8 minutes, 2 points in the game. Nikolai Mirotic, of course, did not play in this game because of the Achilles. Darius Miller was out with that bicep strain, and of course Jahlil Okafor with that right ankle strain, and then they kept Alexis Jinka out as well with that right quad tendon strain. So that was pretty much the breakdown there on the Pelicans dealing with the Atlanta Hawks. Now, opposite of them, their counterparts weren't actually. They were pretty entertaining, to say the least. John Collins is turning into a player. 18 points through 20 minutes of play. He was really exciting. Good to see him. He was 8 of 4 shooting, had a lot of energy and effort. And it's just interesting to see those young pieces come together. Of course, Trae Young, 20 minutes in the game, 5 of 16 shooting. He struggled from the downtown, 1 of 6 shooting from the 3-point line, 11 points for Trae Young. Kent Bazemore finished with 9, 8 points from Prince. But the leader in the game came from the bench with Dembry. Dembry finished with 20 points in 25 minutes of action. Dorsey had 11 off the bench, 13 from par threes, and 8 points from Robinson off the bench, as their team was able to basically, when the Pelicans put their reserves in, their reserves just took over and were able to secure the game against the Pelicans. So this is one of the games, like I said before, that the Pelicans just going to have to adapt to, keep going, and they are learning. Now remember, they're still without Nikolai Mirotic, they're still without Darius Miller. Those two represent probably, and I would say, two of their best three-point shooters. If you put a list of top 5, those guys are in that top 5 three-point shooting on this team. Remember, they're without those guys in this game. So we're about to go to our break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we'll complete the trifecta by recapping the Pelicans' loss to the New York Knicks in New York. So stick with us. You listen to the Pelican Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network.
You're listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network for all things Pelicans.
Tea is your escape. It's your opportunity to create a moment for stillness, for reflection, for yourself. It's your connection to a world of senses, flavors both exotic and familiar, energizing and relaxing. It's your retreat from an increasingly turbulent world. It's the perfect paradox of simplicity and complexity. Teabox.com connects tea to people, uniting the richest flavors of the finest teas with the curious, the cultivated, and the adventurous all over the world. The freshest tea you've ever tasted, from crop to cup. There's simply no simpler way to experience the wonderful complexity of tea. Teabox, packing up the freshness. Tea thrives on freshness, and so do they. Teabox temperature and humidity control facility ensure that tea is maintained. The teas themselves go into oblique bags with aluminum layers that protect them from excess moisture and light. With Teabox, shopping for fresh, loose leaf tea is easy because you make an informed purchase. You know exactly where your tea is coming from. So for the freshest teas in the world, check out Teabox.com. That's right, Teabox.com. Check the link in the description section below. Go to newfrog.com for all of your electronic gadget needs. Fast becoming #1 online seller of cell phone and accessories, consumer electronics, automobiles and motorcycles, home and garden items, 5D diamond painting crafts, electrical and tool supplies, computer and networking supplies, lights and lighting supplies, sports and travel items, toys and hobby supplies, apparel and accessory, mother and kid items, health and beauty items, and much, much more. Newfrog.com has up to 70% off on some products. And you can check out their weekly promotions for all the best deals. Remember, when thinking online electronics and gadgets, think New Frog. Newfrog.com. Check the link in the description section below.
There's a reason he's always Employee of the Month. And why no shirt and no shoes is no problem. There's a lot of reasons to be a fan, but only NBAstore.com has all the gear.
You're listening to the Pelicans Postgame Report on the Pro Media Network for all things Pelicans.
For all things Pelicans, you're listening to the Pelican Postgame Report on the PRO Media Network. Coming into our third segment of the show, of course, is part of the Pelican Preseason Trifecta show that we have. And we're covering and recapping all 3 of the Pelicans' first preseason game. This is game number 3 as they went to New York to take on the New York Knicks. Turned out to be a more entertaining game than probably the first 2 previous games in this one. And the Pelicans barely went down 106-100 in this game. We look at some of the statistics. In the full statistics, the Pelicans did shoot a better percentage both from the field goal area and the three-point line in this one. It just wasn't enough to get the job done, despite the fact that the Knicks had more attempts. Pelicans 36 out of 94 for 38%. The Knicks 39 out of 109 for 36% in this game. Of course, the Pelicans were 12 of 42 from downtown versus the Knicks 7 of 31 from downtown. Of course, the Pelicans shot 28.6, might as well say 29% from the three-point line in this one. Now, of course, like I've said before in the previous segment, we talk about the fact there's 2 important things the Pelicans got to do if they're going to play at this pace. Now, of course, I'm going to give them a waiver to a degree because when you're pushing the pace and when you consider pace of play, the Pelicans are one of
the fastest teams, if not the fastest. The Pelicans are a team that push the pace, and they move the ball, which means they're prone to have situations where they're going to turn the ball over because of the fact that they are moving the ball faster than most teams. So they're prone to have more mistakes than most teams. So let's just remember that. With that being said, I'm not giving them an excuse, but what I'm saying is that we have to remember that. So let's say you have most teams say we got to keep our turnovers down to 12 or 13 a game, like I would say a San Antonio Spurs disciplined team would do with a disciplined coach. But if you're Elvin Gentry, you have a wide open system, that ratio might go up to like 15 or 16. The Pelicans can win games turning the ball over with 15 or 16 turnovers. I would say that's about a threshold. Some people would argue with me and say it needs to be maybe a turnover less or more, but I would say it's right around that fine line. Outside of that, the free throws is the other thing I talk about. If you're going to play that fast, you have to be able to convert free throws when you get to the line, because you're going to get a lot of attempts at the free throw line because of that pace of play, because most of the time they're just going to foul you if they can't keep up with you. So you look at the free throws in this one. The Pelicans shot 16 of 30 at the free throw line. That's 53%. That sucks. That's damn near half the free throws you shot. Think about that. 50-something% from the free. That's just awful as a team, period. You got to get that up. Look what the Knicks shot in this game. 21 of 27. Now, imagine if the Pelicans would have converted at least 10% more of those field goals, or 15%, or out of half the field goals, 15, 14 something free throws that you miss. Imagine if the team would have hit at least 7 more free throws from the line. They would have beat the Knicks. They'd have beat them 107 and 106. Now, that's woulda, coulda, shoulda. I understand that. But listen, I'm just merely documenting to you in a commonsensical way that if you look at the statistics from the free throw line, you could have said the Pelicans could have won the game alone if they would have converted a higher rate. But that is the problem. What I'm saying, you have to hit free throws, and that was a problem with the team last year. Was they were out of some of these games because they couldn't hit free throws, free. Anyway, total rebounds: Knicks 61 to the Pels 59 in this one. Assists, the Pelicans lost the assist battle again, 22 of 19. They haven't won the assist war in either one of these losses, and that's the reason why they're losing a lot of these games, because they're not circulating the ball as the system dictates, as Coach Gentry will tell you momentarily. Now, steals, the Pelicans 11 to 10 on the steals, 7 to 5 on the blocks versus the Knicks. Turnovers, 23 turnovers to 16. That's way too many turnovers. Way too many turnovers. And they gave up 29 points on those turnovers. But think about this. They gained 15, but imagine about those freaking free throws. Remember, they only lost by 6, and you missed 14 free throws. So this is not a hard game to figure out right here. And then, of course, points in the paint. The Pelicans, each one of these losses, they have a commonalities. They lose in the paint war big, 52 to 36. In this game against the Knicks, they lost the paint war. They lost the turnover war. And, of course, they're not hitting their free throws at a high percentage. So couple those things together and understand why the Pelicans keep coming up goose egg in the winning column. Let's hear what Coach Al Gentry and his coaching way of telling you why the team is 0-3 in the preseason.
We didn't have ball movement. I think we ended up with 19 assists. That's not who we are at all. We turned the ball over 23 times. They had them down for 29. We had them down for 32 points. So obviously you can't give up a third of the points that the team scored on turnovers. So I just thought we tried to do too much. We didn't have good ball movement. Our defense was a little bit suspect as far as guarding the ball, and we talked about being in a position tonight where everybody was live and they were going to be taking the ball to the basket, and which didn't play very good.
Coach, in preseason games, do things like field goal percentage and free throw percentage concern you at all?
Well, the free throws don't, because we're a good free throw shooting team. We just, I think that was a lack of concentration really tonight. But we'll be okay in that department. The turnovers, well, they really do concern me, because I just think, that become habit, and we want to not have that habit at all. So we got to have the ball movement, and we got to have shots at the basket. The thing that was the most bothersome tonight about the turnovers, that most of them were live turnovers, and you just can't defend live turnovers in this league. You turn it over where they're running at you. The floor is not balanced defensively. You either back and you don't have, and they have numbers against you. So that's something that concerns me that we've got to get taken care of right away.
Coach, you got your first look at Mirotic and Miller tonight. What did you see in their play?
Oh, I thought Darius played well, and I thought Nico had his moments and stuff. Those guys, for Nico, he hadn't played in in a game, this season and hadn't played in a game in a while. So, he's got to get his timing back and everything. I'm not really concerned about him because I think he'll be fine. I think we, collectively we got to get our shot selection has to improve somewhat. I thought we took some tough shots that we didn't need to take if we continue the ball movement. I just didn't think we did a very good job of moving the ball, of cutting, relocating and things like that we've done a pretty good job the first 2 games.
The turnovers, is that a symptom at all of how fast you guys want to play, or is that just kind of...
No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. I could see if it was, maybe 1, at the most 2, but, more than you would normally have. But when you get into the 20s, that has nothing to do with the style of play. That has more to do with the decision-making and the concentration.
That's Coach Al Gentry, man, breaking it down in a very coach-like way about what's going on with this team. And he's not happy about the fact that his team is 0-3 in the preseason. Of course, we got a few more games left to play, but you heard the reporter talk about the return of Nikolai Mirotic. Not only just Nikolai Mirotic returned in this one, but they also had they got Darius Miller back. Nico, of course, he played extended minutes in this. He played 37 minutes in this game. He was 7 of 20 from the field, 2 of 11 from downtown, 3 of 5 from the free throw line for 19 points, 12 rebounds in the game. Nico was what Nico is, a high-energy shooting player that gives you his all. And I hope the Pelicans lock this guy down. Of course, he's making like $12 to $14 million a year. Hope the Pelicans could kind of sign him to a multi-year deal where his numbers he makes the right around that $10 million mark, maybe $9-10 million, for the next 2 or 3 years, because he's the perfect complementary player to have in this wide open system when you have Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, those guys drawing double teams. He's spectacular in this one. Anthony Davis had 15 points in this matchup. He was tied with another player by the name of Darius Miller, who coming back 24 minutes, 5 of 10 shooting from Darius, 5 of 7 from downtown from Darius. Darius lit it up. And a lot of people don't see Darius Miller coming. This year, he really worked on a lot of stuff last year, which he always could shoot the ball. But Darius probably was his defense. His defense was an issue. He really took on the challenge, really come to this year. And he has, if you look at all of the 3D guys, all of the wing guys, the only reason why we overlook Darius Miller, and that's wrong for us to overlook Darius Miller, because he knows the system. We're familiar with Darius. But the thing about we know Darius is not a defensive guy, but he's working on that. So wouldn't it be a surprise if Darius Miller, who had 15 points in this game, actually come to play and do something? Of course, a lot of people thinking Troy Williams, but it's open competition, between Kenrick Williams, Garland Green, Darius Miller, Solomon Hill. It's a bunch of guys, and they're all looking to take that position, that wing position, into their own. Outside of those terrific players, the 2 returning Pelicans, and Anthony Davis. Of course, Drew Holiday had 12 points in this game in 20 minutes, 5 of 9 shooting from the field, 2 of 4 from downtown. In this matchup, had 4 turnovers. Both him and Anthony Davis got to work on that. Elfrid Payton, 9 points. He was 4 of 8 shooting in 24 minutes, 0 for 1 from downtown, 1 of 4 from the free throw line. And that's a part of what I keep yelling about the free throws. They got to do a better job at the free throws. 9 points for Elfrid Payton, 13 points for Etwine Morris. He got going in this matchup. 13 points for Etwine Moore. 24 minutes of play, 5 of 10. It was 3 of 6 from downtown in this game for Etwine Moore. Other scores, Sheik Diallo had 4 points in 28 minutes. 8 points for Solomon Hill as he was 2 of 2 from the field. 3 from Frank Jackson in 15 minutes. Frank struggled mightily in this one. 1 of 7, 0 for 3 from downtown, and 1 of 2 from the free throw line. You talking about a crappy game Frank Jackson had in this one. And, of course, Kenrick Williams played just 6 minutes, 2 points. Now, of course, they had a lot of Pelicans out on this one. That was DMP, lower back injury by Julius Randle. He didn't play in this one. He was kind of recuperating. Of course, we know about Jahlil Okafor sprained ankle. It was the coach's decision that DMP. Brandon McCoy would have loved to see him get more minutes. Alexis Jenkins still won't play because of that quadriceps injury. And, of course, Morris, point guard Darius Morris, 6'4", 195-pound player, 4-year man out of Michigan, former 41st pick by the Los Angeles Lakers, second-round pick. Pelicans gave him a few minutes in this game, you had they DMP'd both Darius Morris, Jarrett Jack, and Trayvon Blewett in this game. DMP'd them. They did not play. Looking on the other side of the fence, the Knicks' top people, well, of course, Tim Hardaway. He had a very good game in this one through 26 minutes, 6 of 18 from the field, 3 of 8 from downtown, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He finished with 21 points. Enes Kanter, the energy effort guy, through 28 minutes, Enes had 20 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists in this game. Enes Kanter, just showed them how to do it. Then you look at the rest of the statistics. Lance Thomas, former Pelican, Lance Thomas had 13 points in 23 minutes. Kevin Knox, the first-round draft pick this year, played 34 minutes. He was 6 of 19, 0 of 5 from downtown, and finished the game with 12 points, 10 rebounds. He is going to be special for him at the wing position. Energy player altogether off the bench. Noah Vonleh came in. He had 10 points, 11 rebounds in 13 minutes for the Knicks as they were able to capsize the Pelicans 106-100. And it's this one, I could basically tell you, you know what? The Pelicans beat themselves in this one. You have all these ridiculous turnovers. You hit half of your free throws, and you barely beat this team. You barely lost to this team by 6. So I would say in this one, the Pelicans really did it to themselves. They helped the Knicks beat them in this game. And then what's very apparent is they're trying to figure out how to win as a team. But it don't do you no good to play fast if you committing a bunch of mistakes. Think about that. I'm trying to write fast. I'm trying to write a paragraph, but I have a million typos. Am I really getting anywhere that way? Think about that. If you're gonna play fast, you have to be disciplined. You have to understand what to do, when to do it. And the Pelicans, for the most part, if they're gonna play that way, you gotta play as with minimal mistakes as possible, and you have to convert the free throws. Hence the term free. That'll do it for the Pelican post-game report, episode 239 today, the trifecta edition. Thank you guys for listening, both new and established listener. As always, if you enjoy the show, go on our Patreon page and make a contribution. Join our social media pages. All that's in the links in the description below. And as always, from us from the Pelican Post Game Report, thank y'all for joining us. Peace.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
What's up, sports world? It's Big Q talking at you from the PRO Media Network, letting you know that we're attempting to make things a lot simpler on our listeners and viewers of our mini podcast. So as a result, we're leasing down a lot of our shows to have their own channels for your convenience. Starting soon, shows like Ring King Boxing, LSU's Tough Tiger Talk, the Pelican Postgame Report will all have their own individual YouTube channels. So thank you for working with us during this process. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your donations and support for our platform as we continue to improve moving forward. Peace.
Vapor DNA is the absolute premier online vape store, offering an industry-leading selection of e-cigarettes, e-liquids, and accessories. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service team is always ready to provide the best customer service experience to ensure you find what you're looking for. We guarantee our vaping gear shop products to be 100% genuine and the lowest price. We are so confident in our selection and our customer service. We will offer our customers a 45-day refund policy. That's right, a 45-day refund policy. We are proud of this offer for 3 simple reasons: quality, selection, and price. And that is the reason you should choose Vapor DNA for all your vaping needs. That's www.vapordna.com. Again, that's www.vapordna.com.
What's up, sports world? This Big Q from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Talking to you about the website, theposhlifestyle.com. That's right, poshlifestyle.com. A great website where you can get great products at great prices. They sell organic herbs, vitamins, supplements, water filters for your home, EMF and cell phone radiation protection, protection, healing magnetics, and healing crystals, personal protection devices like cell phones, stun guns, and mace spray, organic deodorants, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, and more. They also sell 10A grade Brazilian hair. 10A music is available now. All kind of the latest downloadable mixtapes. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to theposhlifestyle.com. That's The Posh Lifestyle, life spelled with a Y, LYFE, style.com. Put in The Sports Coma for the 10% discount on your purchase. It's a win-win. So get your mind and body right with The Posh Lifestyle.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.